Hello everyone, and welcome to TheMuck. Thank you for joining us. I am poker professional Ryan Laplante, and joining me today on the felt are my co-hosts, poker reporter Reuben Bresler, and poker fanatic AJ Sacher. We will begin today with a recap of the 2015 World Championship of Online Poker. This year's World Championship of Online Poker featured 70 tournaments, and it was the largest one ever, awarding over $66 million in prizes. The most notable events were the following events. The 10K Heads Up, which was won by Michael Chow Ren, 160 thirds. He won it for $196,000. The 10K High Roller 8 Max was won by Tobias, Toby, 123456, Reinkenmaier.
Very original screen name. I like that.
Yes, super original. He is Germany's all-time money winner, having final tabled the big one for one drop, the year won by Dan Coleman.
Yep.
And is the 12,345th member of
Tobias.
the very illustrious Tobias
Club.
line of
Yeah.
family. Yeah.
Tobias Reinkenmaier is a pretty big name. He's a big deal. He's a nice guy,
Yeah.
too. He was one of the guys from 888 that I got to follow around during the summer.
Oh, very cool.
Which is really cool, definitely. Runner-up in that event, you guys might recognize this person, was Andrew Lucky Chewy Lichtenberger.
Yep.
Cash
Legend.
for $484K, definitely. Super old school legend. Won all the money.
Mm-hmm.
The 51K Super High Roller was won by the super boss that is Ben86 Ben Tollerine. He won it for $616,000 after a three-way chop with fellow professionals Sacher 14 and Fish 2013. Some other notable finishes were
Noble Fishes is right.
Finishes were Mike Timex McDonald in 5th for 172K and Fedor Crown Up Guy Holes for 126K.
Yeah, obviously Fedor Holst is like the end boss to end all end bosses. He's unbelievable.
Definitely.
And previous to the WCOOP, he was also having an unbelievable summer. So just a nice
he had a
cap
huge
off
summer.
the season.
He ran deep in the main event, and last year, some of you guys might remember this, he won the WCOOP main event. So he was last year's reigning world champion, and he had a great series.
Kind of a big deal.
The 7th place Bubble Boy in the 51K this year was David D. Peters, 17 Peters. Another high-stakes super reg. And bubbling the final table is ex-number 1 online player, Chris Big Honey Hunnichen, with a painful 9th place finish.
Now, seventh is worse than 9th, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I just love
both
that
of them
it's
are
ninth.
super painful.
It's like, oh, I got 9th. It's like, hey, at least you final tabled in the 8 max.
Right, Max. Yeah, too bad, kid.
Yeah, just super pain, definitely. The 10K 8 game, another big event, was won by Krakira, just some Russian player, no idea as to who he is. But also at that final table, notably, were Mike Lee, Brian Townsend, and Shaun Deeb. I mean, I haven't seen Brian in anything in forever. ABBA 20, I can't think of the last time I've, seen him do anything notable, really. Yet there he is, battling the 10K 8 game final table.
But there is Shaun Deeb.
Yeah,
gotta love Shaun Deeb showing up.
Yes, definitely. So the main event this year, they put a $10 million guarantee on it, and it missed it by 5 players. So, PokerStars still made about $400,000 on it. Not too shabby.
Yeah.
It was won by Cohen Aldenho, 7 from Belgium. Nobody knows who that is, but he won it for $1.3 million after a three-way chop. Most notably at the final table was Alexander Kostreisen, who took 8th for $150,000. Also, the 6th place finisher is Rory Brown, a UK professional who finished for $273,000. So, WCOOP leaderboard this year was won by Shaun Deeb. What a fucking sicko. He had 18 cashes this series with 3 final tables. Just like unbelievable. I mean, out of 70 events, getting 18 cashes is
That's
just
a
so
high
sick.
conversion rate.
Yeah, that's a really, really, really unbelievable conversion rate.
Following up his World Series when he won a bracelet this year.
Yeah, he won a
right?
bracelet this year. He's just on an incredible tier. So much for
What an
retiring poker.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a couple of years ago, he made a pretty well-known, famous post that he was quitting poker tournaments and that he was like done from the game. And since then, he's had by far his best results ever. He's just been destroying everything. So for he won event 44, which was a $215 Formax. That was his 5th Coop win ever. So between WCOOP, Scoop, and T-Coop, that was his 5th victory, making him the all-time leader for wins in that. And for his WCOOP victory, this for his leaderboard win, he got an extra $20,000 and a trophy. Just what he needs.
Not bad.
More money.
Yeah.
More stuff for the mantelpiece.
Yeah,
there is
definitely.
one name that I'm not seeing on this leaderboard here.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you could tell me about where Ryan Laplante ended up on this WPT.
Yeah, you know, he had an okay series.
How okay?
Yeah.
So WCOOP itself went fairly well. So I had my first ever final table, 3rd place finish, was good for about 30 grand,
Nice.
which you'd think would give me like an unbelievable WCOOP or whatever. But since I played about $40,000 in buy-ins and didn't really have any other cashes, I
Sure.
made about 4K on this series for WCOOP. However, outside of WCOOP, I made about $60,000. So it was a decent month.
Nice.
Can't
Yeah, at the
complain at all.
outer tables, it's just like crushing the cash tables when you're at a tournament series.
Yeah, going to the Rio during the series and playing cash.
Basically, Barry
Yep.
Greensteining it.
Yeah.
Definitely worked out pretty well.
Nice job, kid. Well done.
Speaking of
Not bad, not
Vegas,
bad.
I heard some things about Archie Karas.
Yeah, he is no longer allowed in casinos. He
Yeah.
got black booked this month, which is a pretty huge deal. If you don't know who Archie is, he is one of the most famous gamblers of all time, known for The Run, where he spun like $50 into 40 million in the span of 2.5 years, and then lost it all in the next 2.5 years. But he's made and lost more money than I will ever see by far, and was most known for playing poker heads up against anybody.
Yeah.
And those anybody included, Doyle and Chip Reese, Stu Unger, and he just beat them all. Just all of them. Reportedly, the only guy that he lost money to during the run was Johnny Chan. And
Wow.
he played everybody. Puggy Pearson, Johnny Moss, whoever would play him, and he beat them all.
Didn't he almost bankrupt a casino where he was like a couple
Yes.
dice throws away?
Yes.
He was very close. That was the Mirage. He was close to
right.
bankrupting
Yeah.
the Mirage during the run.
He did it to Binions also.
Oh, wow.
That's unbelievable. Like, what a sick run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he's one of your heroes, right?
I love Archie. He's just a hustler through and through. He's super old school Vegas. They call it advantage gambling, and he took every advantage, which is
What a boss.
yeah. But he has been, chased after for taking advantages against the house, which they
Right.
don't like to do.
No.
Since he came to Vegas in, early 90s, maybe even late 80s, he's been arrested 4 or 5 times for cheating at blackjack. He is, an infamous dice doctor, allegedly. So,
He's all
we don't...
alleged.
He is like the character of Vegas. He is like
Yeah.
the
He's
epitome
old
of
Vegas.
that. Yeah, definitely.
This is not, these days you got the kid friendly, take the kids down to Circus for the roller coasters.
My kind of Vegas.
40th wedding anniversary to go see a Cirque du Soleil show and not have to deal with any underhandedness. And that's not this guy. This guy is definitely in the background of some photos in the Mob Museum. He's I don't know this, but I'm sure he is. And he's just he's if you just go to his Wikipedia page, if it weren't true, you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, he is a super legend.
And all these things about marking cards and blackjack and doctoring dice and whatnot and mechanicking in every game possible, then taking all this money off of Poker Pro's heads up.
Yep.
We don't know, and he was never even really accused of cheating in poker, but it is a pretty insane story. But a couple of years ago, actually, sorry, what?
Do you know what exactly got him banned now? Like, what's the most recent thing?
A couple years ago, he got axed or arrested for cheating in San Diego at the Barona Casino.
Yeah.
This was September 2013. And then a year later was convicted after spending like over 2 months in jail because he couldn't afford bail because...
Because
like,
why would he?
Yeah, because he's only made tens of millions of dollars multiple times, but he got caught cheating for like $5,000 and arrested and couldn't make his own bail. But he got convicted, or he pled guilty, I think, and got 3 years probation. That was a year ago, and then a year later, which was on like September 20th or 21st, there was a hearing with the Nevada Gaming Commission. He didn't bother showing up to defend himself, and they voted unanimously to put his name in the black book. If you're not familiar, this is not something that's taken lightly. Like, this is not like, yeah, okay, well, black book him. Like, the black book, he is supposedly the 33rd person in the history of the NGC to be put into the black book. This is this does not
really
happen.
Surprising that it's that few.
Right. The other thing is, like, you can't find the list online. It's just sort of a word of mouth kind of thing. Just like anything that's Archie Karas related, there's no source for any of it. But I mean, he's not allowed to play in any Nevada casinos anymore.
He can't step foot in any Nevada casino.
Can't even step foot in.
That's brutal as a gambler and as a poker player.
Criminal charges, trespassing, I assume, if he is ever stepping foot, which of course includes the Rio, which means no more WCOOP for him, which is, he's one of those guys that's just an absolute legend and will now never be able to play the World Series again.
Yeah, that's too bad.
He got interviewed on the coverage for the World Series a few years ago at this point, maybe late 2000s. Where they talked to him just about being the oldest of old school pros.
I remember watching that segment. It was a really good segment.
Yeah, so he's an interesting dude. I wouldn't put him in my heroes category, but he's
I do. He's
you
awesome.
do. Well, you're more old school Vegas than I am. I'm a little bit soft for Archie Karas, but he doesn't need Vegas. Honestly, when you're a person like AJ or like Archie, you don't need Nevada. There's plenty of places to hustle. Also, he plays pool, right? Like part of his run. Part of the run was from hustling pool. So he's not banned from the pool halls.
That's not.
I didn't know that.
He started in pool wherever he lived before Vegas, and then started playing cards and took his card game to Vegas.
Got it.
And that's where he won all his money. Almost all of it was like nosebleed heads-up poker against the best, which is an insane way to make your money.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Which is, if you're trying to, part of his run was against, Chip Reese, which is the best cast player of all time.
Everyone agrees
when they're just
that
playing,
Chip is just the
200, 400 Raz or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, that's what he played. Heads-up Raz.
That's ridiculous.
Which is unbelievable.
Yeah. So when he was playing, as legend has it, when he's playing against Johnny Chan or whatever, he's trying to get him to add games. Stewie Unger's trying to get him to add games. He's like, I'm not trying to add games. I'm trying to take games away. Let's play 6-card Raz. Heads up limit. Yeah. And that's that's what it is. He played a little stud, a ton of Raz, heads up. And right now, playing heads up Raz is unheard of. That's equivalent to torture.
I don't really see it happening ever.
Back then, I mean, this is before Moneymaker Boom. This is before No Limit Hold'em was the game, the Cadillac. So they played whatever stud variant they felt like, and he took Chip Reese for $2 million at 8K, 16K limit poker.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Crazy. I didn't realize he beat him for that much. That's absurd.
Yeah, he also he's beaten Chip Reese. Chip Reese has said that he got beat by Karas for more than literally anyone else ever.
Which then 4 years later he beat him for all of it back. But that is still the most anybody took off of Chip Reese in
all
his
runs have to come to an
end. Lifetime.
All heaters must end.
Yep.
Right.
So we will not be seeing much of him anymore, at least not in Vegas.
Unfortunate. I mean, he still lives in Vegas, right?
As far as I know, yeah.
Most of his family is from Greece.
I'm pretty sure he does.
Originally, but Greece doesn't have.
He is a Greece immigrant.
Greece doesn't have any casinos, so I don't imagine he's going back there. He'll probably relocate to another state that has casinos, possibly California.
He
Yeah,
spends
or
a lot
New
of time in
Jersey or something
California,
like that.
So, yeah.
I could see that happening.
Probably
Hopefully
not
he's not
welcome too much
banned
in
from
San
there.
Diego.
Yeah, no, probably
but not anymore. No,
No,
You know.
probably not.
Verona might have put the word out on him.
Yeah.
So
But
speaking
he's
of,
the kind of villain that I like. I like him.
Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly.
he's not a bad
He's a
villain.
cartoonish,
Yeah.
Correct.
like exaggeration, like caricature of the like wise guy Vegas hustler.
Yeah.
Which, if casinos didn't have guys like him, they wouldn't really be worth going to.
Yeah.
Well, we wouldn't have casinos if they didn't exist.
This
Every
is also
Vegas
true.
would have failed if that wasn't the way that
Every
of the
casino
town.
should just hire a guy and to put on a pinstripe suit and a bowler hat to flip a coin out front.
Well, that's what like hit the way that he presented his challenge, his game, was after he beat the crap out of Puggy Pearson, he would sit in the middle of the horseshoe with 500K racked up and just wait. And Puggy Pearson would like bark out, take it all comers, step up and play the man.
That's
yeah,
delightful.
That's
Yep.
awesome. That
Just
is really
Carnival
cool.
Barker style. I like it.
absolutely.
So speaking of casinos in other areas, I heard some stuff's going down in Israel.
Yeah, so this is relatively new information to me. I hadn't seen a ton of this until I saw the story on Poker News, which is that Benjamin Netanyahu, who's the Prime Minister of Israel, is planning on bringing gambling to the state of Israel, which is news to me. I mean, I was in Israel in January visiting with my family, and apparently one of the local news sources in Israel said that kind of out of nowhere that Netanyahu is trying to revive the resort city of Eilat, which is the way southern tip of the Red Sea, down there on the Red Sea. If you've ever seen Lawrence of Arabia, the final scene in Lawrence of Arabia when they're charging towards the sea, that was filmed from Eilat into Jordan. So you can see Jordan from Eilat. It's 5 miles from Jordan. It's 15 miles from Egypt. And it's a resort city. It's got some of the best scuba diving in the world. It's gorgeous, but it's a little bit run down. It's like how downtown Vegas was maybe 15 years ago. It's a little grimy. You could definitely tell that it was super high roller in the 80s and 90s, but it's sort of lost its luster now. And one of the things that Netanyahu and the government are going to try to do to help revive it is to bring gambling to Israel, which is kind of weird to me because Israel is not really poker friendly, let alone gambling friendly.
Yeah, it seems kind of surprising that that's occurring.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird because, I mean, if you poker is sort of looked at like a backroom, non-respectable way to make money.
Yeah.
Ofertz v. Stern is one of the chip leaders going into this year's November 9. He's a native of Herzliya, Israel, which is basically Silicon Valley. That's where all the tech companies are.
Yeah.
That's like affluent northern Israel. He is basically not doing interviews. I don't know what he's going to do if he wins this thing. If he wins this thing, I don't know what's going to happen.
He's going to get a lot of TV coverage and news coverage and all that.
He's very
Probably not in Israel.
Because he's like doing there's nothing on local media about him in Israel doing this poker thing. Even though a lot of poker players are Israeli and a lot of Vegas residents, Vegas has like one of the highest per capita Jewish populations and Israeli populations in the United States. And
because they have to come here to gamble.
Well, exactly. That's true. But I think that this is good in some ways and bad in other ways. One is here's the good news.
Yeah.
A lot is awesome. A lot is mini Vegas. If it had a casino, it would actually be mini Vegas. They already have riverboat casinos. Like they've already got these like cruise ship casinos that you go out into the Red Sea and gamble on those for the night. And it's gorgeous down there, and it would raise tourism for Israel. Eilat has no religious connotations, and so there have never been any terrorist attacks, even though Israel is pretty dangerous in a lot of spots. It's far from any attacks that have ever happened because the terrorists want money to keep coming in. They just want the Jews to leave, right? So it's safe down there. It's a short drive from Jordan and from Egypt, and it's relatively easy for folks to get into it if you have the right documentation.
As easy as it is for anybody to
As
get
easy it
into
is for
Israel.
anybody to get into Israel from Jordan. Yeah, exactly.
From anywhere that's not the U.S., yeah.
Yeah. It's like a 4-hour drive from Tel Aviv to Eilat. It's not a big country. Maybe the size of New Jersey, a little smaller.
I didn't know it was that small.
Yeah, it's really tiny. But that's the good news. I think that you can definitely expect a revival of the economy in Eilat, which has been suffering the last couple of years. And you can also just expect, maybe they'll add a European poker tour stop to Israel, which I think
that'd be
would
really
sweet.
cool. Yeah, definitely.
It also might be a bellwether for other religious kind of countries to maybe accept casinos. There aren't any casinos in Italy, even though that's not like a super religious. It's got Rome in it, right?
Yeah, it's weird that there isn't any.
Yeah, so not super religious, but religious enough countries,
conservative enough.
Well, it's
Greece,
a cultural thing.
Macedonia, Italy, So maybe this is a bellwether for that. Maybe this is a canary in a coal mine, and we'll see some more cool locations in places that you'd expect to have casinos.
Or even more localized, like even it serves to change perceptions of poker and gambling inside of Israel,
definitely.
which is
Exactly,
problematic, as you said.
Yeah, and I think that those are all really good things.
Right, definitely.
Here's the bad news. The number one donator of funds to the re-election campaign of Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu's re-election campaign this past year
Who in this picture, by the way, is the guy on the right, and then the guy on the left is
Sheldon Adelson, Uncle Shelly.
Yeah, that's not good.
Gorgeous. Perfect. I like it. Yeah, he's a big proponent of Israel. He is a big proponent of the Birthright campaign, which sends a lot of kids to Israel for the first time in their lives. Does a lot of great things. He's also not a great person when it comes to other things. He's the owner of the Las Vegas Sands properties, including the Venetian and the Palazzo. So my assumption, now context clues suggest that the owner of the casino that they are planning on building might be Sheldon Adelson.
Pretty likely.
Might be the one that gets the deal. And based on his opinions of online poker, as well as lots of other things that I personally don't agree with, but mostly the problem is online poker. Which is kind of weird because 888 Poker, the site that I was a reporter for the World Series, is a lot of their offices are in Israel.
A lot of their offices?
A lot. Wow, you're so clever. Many.
The puns.
Some of their offices. A lot of the guys I worked with are from Israel. They're up in Herzliya, in the Haifa, Tel Aviv area. And that seems like a fight could be brewing if Sheldon Adelson steps even further into Israeli gambling politics. So that could be a bit of a problem also.
You definitely could see that happening, but I heard that 888's in the process of being sold. So if 888's sold and it's no longer there, then they might not be able to really fight him.
Right, there are so many moving parts.
Right, definitely.
Yeah.
But, illegal gambling is actually a big problem in Israel right now. Because there's nowhere to do it legally.
Right.
And so a casino in the region would really stave off a lot of those underground gambling problems that they seem to be having. So, I think it's a good idea to try to offer casino gambling and get a nice complex about 15 minutes from the Eilat airport. That'd be pretty sweet.
Sounds like it would be very helpful for the people in the area, bringing some good tax revenue, bringing in a lot of vacationing money, all that stuff.
It's like 80% upside.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just the other 20%.
Which is the closest you're going to get
scary and shady and
all that stuff.
Politically,
80% upside is the closest you're going to get to a win.
Yeah,
of course.
So
not bad at all.
I would love to see WPT a lot. I think that would be, or not WPT, it would be EPT a lot.
EPT
I guess you could do
lot,
WPT.
Yeah, or
also.
WPT, definitely.
But I think that might be down the line, and that's a pretty exciting prospect.
Definitely.
For sure.
So, speaking of controversial things going on, Binions has been in the news a little bit lately due to something they've done recently. So, on September 23rd, their tournament director, Paul Campbell, he announced on Twitter that Binions has canceled all guarantees for their Binions poker series effective starting September 23rd, so starting the day that he sent it, with only 2 minor exceptions, one being a 10K guaranteed, which was a couple days ago, and then there's a PPC event coming up, 50K guaranteed, $300 buy-in, but apparently they aren't really fronting the money for that, so the PPC people are putting up the money for that. So they announced that they would essentially cancel all of their guarantees that they had publicly advertising, which is obviously a pretty terrible precedent to set. You know, when they send out, like, you know, advertising or, like, post about things either on Twitter or Facebook or make actual brick and mortar, you know, like, announcements about it, that they're going to run a poker series and run guarantees and then cancel them. I mean, that's just a really poor thing to do. Like, it shows, like, to a poker player, like, a lack of trust, like, especially if, like, they're putting on a bigger series, something that might be actually worth traveling for. If, like, you travel for it, let's say you travel from, like, Florida to Vegas, spend, like, $500+ on that, then you get, like, hotel rooms and all that kind of stuff, and then you find out the day after you get there that they're just canceling all guarantees, like, like, you'd just be, like, livid. Sure. Right. It's horrible. Horrible. Can't believe that they're doing this. I mean,
I couldn't believe that they set the guarantee to begin with.
Right,
like,
yeah.
I'm the kind of guy where I kind of scour the different tournaments and try to find the overlay value.
Right.
And this one stuck out like a sore thumb. This one
definitely
was, like, pretty obvious that it was going to miss. I think I forget who sent the tweet, but one of the local pros showed up for the day 1A of the high roller, and he was the second person to sign up with like 15 minutes left in registration.
What?
It was like,
did they have a guarantee on it?
This was one of the ones that was going to be guaranteed, and then they canceled all the guarantees.
Oh.
I don't remember specifically what this was. I remember I hesitate to say the name, but we discussed it on the Mark Hoke show this week.
Do you know if they had the guarantee on the tournament before
in place?
Yeah, when the tournament started, and then cancel it after, or
don't know. But I mean, either way,
right? Either way, it's bad.
I
mean,
it's either bad or atrocious.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, if the tournament's already running and then they cancel the guarantee on the tournament mid-tournament, I mean, that's just like outright stealing from the community.
I can't imagine that's what it is.
No, probably not. I would expect them to have a little bit.
More.
You're right.
What was happening.
Yeah, definitely.
About it. But certainly, Binions trying to rescind their guarantee. The other thing is like, casinos have been really up. It comes and goes, but casinos have been really up on these guaranteed tournaments.
Right.
Which, you know, is attractive to players. You know,
right? Definitely.
These are guaranteed. There's a possibility of an overlay.
Right.
Hooray! And now I'm in this weird, awkward position of hoping that other people don't show up. Right. where I'm like, oh man,
it's in
I
my
hope
best
there's
interest
overlay.
to not have more people attend.
Right.
Which is kind of a weird thing to have happen. And it's one of these recent tournament things where, you know, like Matt Savage came up with the rebuys thing like 15
the re-entries and all that stuff.
Now he's kind of ruining that decision, and now you've got these guarantees, and there's a couple other things that people are like, I wish I hadn't invented this thing. And this is another one of these. This is another one of these inventions that's designed to make poker tournaments more attractive, but sometimes they just don't work, and then they backfire horribly.
Yeah, speaking of
good news for the Binions.
Speaking of big backfires, the really big one down in Florida, the Hard Rock Poker Open. I mean, that was a $2.5 million backfire, which, you know, is horrible for them.
Well, that was last year. This year it was $2.5 million last year, wasn't it? Because this year they almost reached it.
This year they were only
last
like
year was
50K short.
Right.
Yeah,
last year
they were about 50K short. Last year they were 2.5 short, which was also an unmitigated disaster.
Right. Yeah. This year they almost.
But they paid out.
That. Yeah, they paid out, which is wonderful.
Oh, for sure. They didn't cancel the overlay. They were well, we made our bed. Let's sleep in it.
Yeah.
You know, the same thing happened to the Nugget this summer. They had an overlay on. They had some enormous overlay on some of their tournaments. They were like, "Hey guys,
a series of tournaments."
On a series. Yeah, they're like, "Hey guys, we got a $100,000 overlay on our $200,000 guaranteed tournament. So guess what?
Yep.
We're running it back next week." And then they did it the next week, and it actually was slightly more popular. So it's
They still overlaid a little, but
they still overlaid a little, but like not the horrible disaster.
That's what guarantees generally do, is that like people hear, oh, there's an overlay, oh, there could be an overlay, and people show up, then the casino hits it, and then they don't really lose money on it. Like even like a casino losing, like, let's say it overlays by like 15 or 20%. Like that's not necessarily that bad of a thing for the casino, because everybody will talk about it. And then also the fact that they're still getting bodies in the door. Most poker players aren't like, you and I, Reuben, where, we play poker, we get our poker money, we leave the casino. Most people will stay in the casino, spend their money in the casino, remember that the casino just gave them a ton of money and be like, oh, sure, let's gamble here. Why not? I have like 5,000. Yeah.
It's a lot more of the
downtown
audience.
Vegas,
Yeah,
old
definitely.
school,
Right.
Especially for Binions, which, by the way, Binions is also and Nugget and Four Queens, and a lot of those casinos are not doing well. Like Las Vegas Club just closed. But
I didn't know
the retro hipster Vegas scene is pretty popular. And so,
right, definitely.
Like the D is down there. That's a pretty cool casino. So
definitely,
it's part of the charm. I will say that the Binions is holding their PPC event this weekend.
Right.
Friday and Saturday are the day ones. That's a $300 buy-in, and they have a guaranteed by PPC. So that guarantee is not getting resent.
That one's locked.
Yeah,
that one
definitely.
is a $50K. Locked guarantee, and I'll be playing that one because it's probably also going to overlay, but that one's not going to be the complete ridiculous cancel it all, pack it up, we're going home.
No,
overlay.
definitely not.
The Binions has unfortunately now going to be synonymous
the
with.
PPC has like market share to lose. Like they have a reputation to uphold.
They're battling with
just
HBT and stuff.
Yeah. They're more like invested in the short term and more like, well, we need the money, we need the income,
Well, Binions apparently is like, well, our poker room is withered anyways, so let's just cancel this, and maybe it just won't matter. And honestly, it probably won't.
It probably won't.
Won't
There's
really
so much,
negatively affect
There's
them.
so much cultural clout associated with Binions that we'll be upset about this for like a second, and then be like, but like that's it's like Archie Karas. It's like that's the old guy that was here the whole time, guys.
Yeah, I don't really see it.
Stay mad at you.
I don't really see it hurting their like cash game revenue or anything like that. So it probably won't affect them too negatively, but it's a terrible precedent for them to set.
Oh, absolutely.
Speaking of really big overlays, America's Card Room 2 weeks ago had a 225K overlay.
Yeah.
And they're doing it again 4 more times in October.
That's awesome.
They're running $1 million guarantee tournaments with only $540 entry and a more like satellite steps up to it than I've ever seen.
How many?
And it's a big deal.
How many steps? Like 13?
A lot. I
can't actually see it in the statistics. They've got so much stuff. It is a lot of steps.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Jesus.
10, 11, 12,
Wow.
13, 14.
Wow.
Jesus, that's like the number of steps PokerStars had for WCOOP, except 10x the buy-in.
Right.
It's easy. I was gonna make an AA joke. I'll refrain.
A little too close to home for some of our viewing audience, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
and some of our participating hosts also.
yes.
People, excuse me, I have to. No, I'm kidding. But
so the dates of those coming up are October 4th, the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th. So the next upcoming 4 Sundays, and they're all at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if the last one overlaid by 225K, you might see some more big overlays. Apparently, the final table was streamed with whole cards by Rupert Edler, and he ended up winning it for $125,000, being the largest ever Twitch score for poker.
Yeah.
125K. Yep.
Twitch history. Twitch at TwitchCon recently unveiled the Twitch TV Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Which is a cool thing. Lethal Frag was the first inductee.
Nice.
And yeah, if poker streaming continues to be as massive as it is and growing as fast as it is, it won't be long until we see Somerville as the first ballot entry.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
And
honestly, it wouldn't surprise me.
Every time one of these achievements is made, we get that much closer to it.
definitely.
I want to really briefly go back to the $225,000 overlay. That's twice first place prize money.
Yeah.
So
Twice.
the overlay was 2x of first place prize.
Essentially.
That's an unbelievably high number.
Yeah, they lost a lot of money on
online tournament.
Mm-hmm. They also gave away a lot of seats for it too, so they probably legitimately lost a lot of money on that, like $300-400K.
Well, the tournament is bigger than anything they've done before.
No, they've done one before that was $1 million guaranteed, except the issue with it is that they were having some major server issues. They were being like DDoS'd by people, so they ended up canceling the tournament.
No.
So technically, one was
No.
before.
That's what happened at this one.
No, they had some DDoS issues this one, but they just paused this. They just paused it at times and then like kept restarting it.
Yeah, they just
and
paused
let
it
go
for like
forward.
10 minutes.
While
But having your tournament DDoSed while it's running
it's pretty
not
sick.
good.
is going to create quite an overlay.
Yeah, that's probably why it overlaid by so much, was getting DDoS. But they actually ran it a time before this. So this was like the remaking of it. And the time that they ran it before, it was going to overlay by more, and they got DDoS'd into oblivion, and they just refunded everyone all their money. Like, I was 2 bullets into it and got the money back immediately.
To put this in perspective, they ICM chopped at top 5, and first place was $124,882. The previous highest win on the site was Elke, getting $70K.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's almost half of what the record was broken by.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sick that
They're trying to step
Idler had
up.
that big of a
Oh,
scale.
yeah.
I don't even.
Definitely.
I mean, it certainly got on my radar. I didn't even remember that America's Card Room was still a thing.
Yeah, it's still around.
I thought it got hit by Black Friday. I just assumed it got hit by Black Friday and was gone.
No, the network has been struggling around and has just stayed around all these years. And, you know, they occasionally have, like, these decent series that get, like, you know, 200K guarantees as their mains. But they decided to try to swing for the fences with these 5 $1 million guaranteed tournaments. And apparently everyone out at the final table, like Rupert said, that he got paid out in less than 2 weeks. So
well, that's one of their like big selling points,
right,
is that
they have
their
fast
turnaround
cash out.
is insane. Yeah.
So, you know, that's like, I guess that's good. But
I'm going to look into making an account when
Definitely.
I would never otherwise.
Would never have otherwise. It's definitely good advertising. Even though the overlay was so big, they're probably going to make it all back in new signups. It's like the same thing with the overlays for smaller casinos. You get you know, people in the door. That's worth the overlay.
Especially for series. Like they've run one of 5 tournaments. You know, they're doing 4 more this month, and I can only imagine that the overlay is going to shrink into maybe even not being overlaid by the end.
Yeah,
you know?
I could see them maybe like actually doing well with it and, you know, clearing and making money on it.
For sure, and that's
me,
just
honestly.
the short term. The long term, it's like this is an investment. Like this is coming out of their advertisement budget. You know, this is not coming from their poker money.
Yeah, I could see that occurring. I mean, it's great to have at least a US-facing site that you can get fast cash outs on, and also the fact that, you know, they're trying to swing for the fences here. So I commend them for it. I'm going to play all 4 of them. I played the first one as well, so I'll play all 5 in total, and hopefully I can run up a big score in it. It'd be great.
Nice.
Yep. Looks like a sweet series.
Definitely. Those are some pretty big guarantees at America's Card Room. It's great to see them really trying to swing for the fences there. Speaking of some pretty big guarantees and some new ones, I saw that the WPT had 2 recent events, one at the Borgata and one at the first ever there at Maryland Live.
That's right. WPT at Borgata this time around was won by David Paredes, who's at Gaucho2121 on Twitter. I don't know if he uses that username on any of the poker sites that folks use out there, but Jim Gilbert came in second, and we only have the top 6 players listed here, but the only other name that I think I recognize is 6th place, Roman Valerstein. Is that
Valerstein? Yeah.
Valerstein. Yeah. I've seen that name a couple times.
You don't recognize Mega Boss Joe Kuther?
Oh, is that? Yeah, I guess I should have
Joe
recognized
Kuther,
Joe
the legend.
Kuther.
He's been absolutely destroying 1 to 5Ks live like for the last few years. Just unbelievable boss. And also Jim Gilbert, not many people will know his online screen name, but maybe some of us grinders will. Real Huge Fish online?
Yeah. I've definitely seen that screen name pop up when reading the articles on who had good weeks on various websites. But first place goes to David Paredes, who gets just over 723K for first. Jim Gilbert, Real Big Fish, gets 434 for second. Joe Kuther, 262, almost 263 for second. Maurice Hawkins, Jerry Payne, and Roman Vallerstein.
I don't have the list up. Is Real Big Fish spelled
Real Huge Fish?
R-E-A-L?
No,
Huge Fish.
Real Huge Fish spelled
Real Big Fish is
R-E-E-L.
like a ska band.
Yeah, it's a ska band, and the real is spelled the same way.
R-E-E-L?
Yeah, R-E-E-L. And so that was at the Borgata, a little bit further south, at the inaugural World Poker Tour in Maryland, at Maryland Live. Aaron Mermelstein is your champion. He is going to take home $250K, including a WPT World Championship package.
Apparently that is Mermelstein's second WPT title, by the way.
Putting him into a pretty exclusive company with two World Poker Tour titles. You've got people who are like Anthony Zeno, who's a master, Gus Hansen, Carlos Mortensen. These are some big names up there who've got multiple wins. And so Aaron Mermelstein joins that illustrious group in the 337-player field. Other names that you might recognize: second place, Tony Wang, takes home $164,000. And fourth place, Greg Merson.
Greggy.
Merson, 78K. Not the biggest cash of his career by a wide margin, but certainly a solid finish.
I'm pretty sure that's Greg's first WPT final table. I can't think of one that he's been on. I might be wrong, but I think that's his first. Yeah. Kind of surprising.
A couple big finishes for a couple of big names, particularly big names online, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. So
Live poker.
Some of the other big names, Joe Kuther's actually known online as Da Funny Man, spelt in kind of a weird way, like D-A-P-H-U-N-N-I-E man.
See,
he's been an
so
online
funny that he spells things
pretty funny
in a humorous way.
And Roman Vallerstein is actually known as Grimrat420, and he's been an online grinder for a very long time as well. So a lot of online legends have been like destroying live. Even Greggy, Greg Merson used to be like a 510 to 2550 cash grinder. Goes by Greggy, like with a bunch of numbers at the end of it on stars.
So certainly a lot of the big names continuing to transition to live poker.
Yep,
and
definitely.
Certainly it seems like a somewhat higher percentage of the online grinders have been doing well this summer. I also wanted to point out that Kate Hall, 58K for fifth place, the only woman at the final table, and is also, I think, is pretty well known as a live cash grinder in Maryland, but I'm not totally sure on that.
Oh, it's cool to see a woman at the final table at a WPT event getting some TV coverage.
And so many people from Maryland.
Yes.
Like that it's so cool to have the tournament in like the first time in a new place and have so many locals show up and crush it.
Right.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I think that Maryland has actually been really well represented on the poker scene for the last decade at least. Chad Power had a pretty decent run in the tournament this past World Series. He got something like 25th or 30th. Wow. He and like five guys own a house down the street from the Maryland Live Casino. Famously, Brock Parker is from the Maryland area. He's got 3 bracelets. So Maryland has been on the scene for a long time. So I'm not too shocked.
Yeah. The games now that the Maryland Live is there, the cash games there are supposed to be really good, and apparently Greggy and crew have all been really destroying it.
Not surprising.
Great to see them put up some more results. Well, it looks like we'll be wrapping up this week's show, so thank you guys for joining us. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at TheMuck Podcast. Please subscribe to this channel using the little button thingies below. And you can message us privately using our email at themuckpoker@gmail.com. For Reuben Bresler and AJ Sacher, I am Ryan Laplante. Thank you for joining us this week, and join us next week for your news of the poker universe. Thanks, guys. See you next week.